Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to do short hair. So first I'm just going to start off with blocking out the basic shape of the hair and the outer contour line. So I'm going to find the bang, and then I'm coming in on the side to find the sideburns, and then I will find the overall shape of the hair before adding any value. Notice how I'm keeping my pencil really loose and sketchy so that I can find some of those wispy, softer hairs. You don't want to have too hard of an edge when you're drawing hair, especially because then you'll have more of a helmet head, whereas the hair actually has more flow to it and you want it to look light and kind of bouncy, so you'll want to include some of those flyaways or baby hairs. I'm starting off by blocking out some of the darkest areas, so I'm really paying attention to my shadows. If you're having a difficult time figuring out what to pay attention to and what to ignore, you can look at your photo through a hard squint. If you squint really hard at your photo, you'll be able to focus more clearly on the shadows and highlights and not be tripped up by some of the middle values. You really just want to pay attention to the overall shapes of the shadows and highlights. They don't have to be perfect, but you want to create that illusion. So really take a hard look at what shapes your shadows are creating. Now that I've begun to lay in some of my shadows, I'll go ahead and start to add some of my middle values. So I personally just like to get my graphite down on the page and get some value down, and then I'll go back in later to pull out my highlights. When you're drawing hair, you really want to follow the direction of flow, or what direction the hair comes into, and you'll want to hatch in that same direction. So I'm noticing for the particular section of hair I'm working on here, it starts in the back and then curves over towards the left as it comes forward. So again, you'll just want to follow the direction of the plane in which your hair moves. Notice how I'm using long, swift strokes. Especially when drawing hair, it's important to do that in order to create the illusion of individual hairs. So if you have long, swift hatch marks, you create the illusion of individual hairs that then fall together as a group. So you can definitely hatch and shade, and then I would suggest just pulling out a few individual hairs as well. Now that I've added some general value to the hair, I'm just going back in to pull out some of my shadows. So because value is relative, you're going to need to work back and forth. Once you add some more value to one area, you may realize another area is not dark enough. Then I'm going in with my eraser to pull out some of my highlights. So I'm just using the tip or edge of the eraser and again following that same long swift stroke to pull out highlights for some of the lighter hairs that are catching the light. Now I'm going in with my blender stick just to get rid of that harsh contrast between the highlights and shadows and kind of make it blend more smoothly. So I'll work back and forth with my blender stick and with my eraser in order to create smooth highlights that don't look too harsh or out of place. So when you have a section of hair that's falling underneath, that's cast in shadow, as that hair starts to curve up towards the light source, it gets lighter. So the edges will be a little bit darker, and then as we come back up to the top where the light source is, the hair is getting a little bit lighter. And then of course you have some shadows like the ones that we blocked in at the beginning. So when pulling away highlights in order to blend them, you'll want to pull some individual hairs over top, just again to create that illusion of hair that is catching light. So now I'm just going in and darkening and refining some areas in order to keep that contrast and make sure that my values aren't too close. And finally, just adding a few stray, wispy hairs in order to avoid having that helmet head look. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.